Welcome to Secure the Bag. My name is Jackson. I'm here with my regular co-host Matt and special guest Tasha. Say hello to everyone, Tasha.
Hi.
So today we're doing something a little special. We're talking about AFL. I believe in finals time it's necessary to have this chat. And Tasha's here as our resident expert on all things AFL. So to kick off, we just thought we'd give Tasha a chance to sort of give a vibe to everyone. So Tasha, I got two questions for you. What is your favourite AFL club song and what is your least favourite AFL club song?
Okay. Favourite is Richmond's. Nothing beats the yellow and black chant from a full MCG, I reckon. Followed by GWS, I think. That's a pretty cool one. We've been singing it all day. Least favourite, easily the Eagles. It sucks. Not a footy song at all.
But I think this is fair. I've listened to these songs, and while I disagree on her view on the Eagles, it's not great. I just think Geelong's is worse.
Can I interject and ask where you would put Swan's winning song?
Me?
Yep.
Top 3. Epic banjo solo.
So you would put Greater Western Sydney over Swans.
Yeah. It's catchier. It's catchier.
Ooh.
I'm being
call
unbiased
that being a
here.
traitor.
Yeah,
I'm being unbiased.
Well, speaking of Swans, we have to pay condolences, Tasha, for what was a harsh last weekend as the Swans lost by a single point to the GWS Giants. Thoughts on the game, Tasha?
I thought we looked pretty good. We were convinced we were going to win up until the last maybe 20 seconds, and then it wasn't so fun.
We were talking about it during the game, and I mean, you brought up the idea that Swans are going to make a late push. They were always going to make a late push to sort of come back and get it over the line. Now at halftime, the Giants were up 57-34. So the game went pretty much as you expected it to go, with particularly Isaac Heaney getting three goals in the second half.
4 goals in the second half.
Four goals in the second half.
He really showed that second half push that we all expected to happen.
So no surprises there, Tasha?
No, pretty much every game recently, you can see like the energy really push up after halftime. Don't know what it is. We're slow starters. It really just came down to inaccuracy kicking for goal. At the end, we had 4 shots, missed them all. Yeah.
The Swans hit the post twice at the end. They scored 5 late behinds to get them within a point of the Giants before the end of the game. So it's really that accuracy shooting goals that they needed to get them over the line and get the win.
Yeah. Turning some of those behinds into goals would have been a real would have really made the difference there. And they probably should have pushed it over the line. I mean, you consider the fact that Swans had 65 inside 50s compared to the Giants 45. Yeah, the stats really suggested Swans should have put that over the line, but human error. So it's a shame. But another big development happened in that game, which was the suspension of Toby Green for the Giants. We've seen that was a disaster for Giants, as they were really missing him in their game that followed against Geelong, as they failed to get over the line against Geelong and looked quite weak, actually. They definitely really missed him. So, Tasha, you were our man on the ground regarding that suspension, the tribunal, and in the end it was decided he would get 3 weeks. But since the AFL has appealed that decision, so you agree with the AFL on this, that his suspension should have been longer than 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think they saw my tweets saying, please appeal it. He deserves 6 weeks.
And do you want to describe the incident?
Yeah, so Toby Green, during, I think it was the 3rd quarter, deliberately shouldered Matt Stevic, the umpire, which is not allowed, intimidating, intentional contact. Previously, we've seen fines or a 1-week suspension in the past for contact with an umpire. But this one was in my opinion, more aggressive, more intimidating. Thought it deserved 6 weeks. He got 3, but it's being appealed after the grand final. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And this isn't the first time he's even intimidated a referee or made contact with an umpire. I see that he actually did something similar back in 2013, where he was actually fined almost $2,000. But Matt, you understand, you know a little bit about this man's disciplinary record. Why don't you sort of go through with us some of this man's history and why this shouldn't surprise us?
Yeah, look, his disciplinary record over the past 6 finals, let's say, the elimination final and the semi-final in 2018, he got $2,500 in fines for both of those finals. 2019, the elimination final, he got $7,500 in fines, and the 2019 semi-final, he got 1 week suspension. So it's a track record for him. And Green, throughout his career, he's had about $30,000 worth of fines and 11 weeks worth of suspension since his debut in 2012. So it's a prominent trait of his game.
Yeah, and I think it lets the team down because they sorely needed him. And without them, Giants will have to wait till next season to have another run.
Exactly.
But interesting news, but now it's to get to the big topic at hand, which is Melbourne. So,
sorry, Jackson, can I just interject there? I think we're missing something. I think we're missing the potential for Buddy Franklin to crack 1,000 goals.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
This season, he has scored, I think it was 51 goals so far this season. And it was looking like he was on track to break in that record in this game or the next game if the Swans end up progressing through.
Are you kidding me?
No, I think he's on 993 at the moment, or 995. 95. Yeah, my mistake. So yeah, it's pretty locked in that he'll break that record in the first game of next season, I reckon. So that'd be a good game to watch.
Absolutely. And Tasha, as the Swans fan, I'll ask you, it's inevitable he's going to score his 1,000th goal next season.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to celebrate?
Storm the field. If COVID permits.
Yeah, I was about to say, even in COVID regulations, I don't know about that.
I'll check in at the gate.
I think the club should do something for him if the crowd can't be there to celebrate with him.
I think they will, but at the same time, I don't think people will storm the field because, COVID doesn't stop at the front gate. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I think judging by previous experiences in all types of sports, I reckon I'll do something good for him.
Yeah,
I mean, not many people have broken that feat of 1,000 goals in their career. So
and he's earned the respect. He was a good player for Swans, even in that defeat to Giants. Key player.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we've got to now focus on the teams that are still in the final. Sorry, Tasha, nothing we can do about that. And Melbourne are easily one of the favourites to get through to the final. They, after a terrible 2020, they've really built themselves into a ruthless defensive side and are really going all out. And for many, there's no other team that can compete with the defensive football being played by Melbourne right now. Their attack is decent. They've got the 5th highest goals per game in this season amongst all the teams, when their highest scorer, Bailey Fritz, is 4th in the league with 51, but it's the defence that has really made the difference for Melbourne this season.
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, you look at the stats, Melbourne's determination to pressure their opponents is really prominent. That the fact that 2 Demons players rank in the top 3 for most tackles inside 50, and that's Neil Bolton with 43 and Pickett with 36.
Exactly. So, Tasha.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the way Melbourne play? What have you made of them this season? And is there anyone you can think of that plays the kind of football that can counter the kind of defensive football they're playing?
So Melbourne has pretty much the best defence in the league. The team I can see beating them is Geelong next week in the prelims. Geelong play very good offensive footy, and they have a lot more experience than Melbourne does in finals.
Exactly.
And so not like yesterday's game, but when they play their best, they play very fast-paced football, play on, and Melbourne won't have time to set up that defence. I reckon if Geelong can crack through the corridor, then they've got a shot.
Playing quickly will no doubt be key to Geelong having any chance of beating Melbourne, but there are serious concerns for me, and I've discussed this with you outside the recording, and it's about the age of Geelong's players. So we've taken into account that Geelong have the second oldest team in the league. I mean, 10 of the 22 players selected against Port were over the age of 30.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and the question rises: does this team have the endurance over a whole season to then go the extra mile during finals and continue to play well? So the main concern, I mean, their two performances so far in the finals are a loss against Port and the victory over GWS. Neither have been super convincing. They weren't convincing performances. Geelong looked shaky in both performances. Would I be on the ball there, Tasha?
Yeah, so last night's game was incredibly sloppy from both teams. Even though Geelong seemed to win comfortably, it wasn't very good football that they played. They did pick up towards the middle of the third quarter and last quarter, where they started playing that really fast-paced football, which is what they need to do against Melbourne next week.
Yeah, there can't be any mistakes against Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne have the highest tackles per game ratio of any team. If you don't play to the best of your ability, you are going to be forced off the ball. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, look at the kind of players that Geelong would be coming up against. I mean, we have to recognise Clayton Oliver in the midfield as an incredible player who ranks among the top 5 in the league for contested possessions at 406. And I mean, his game against Brisbane Lions last week proved that he can take that form into finals. He got 33 disposals and a sneaky goal in that game. He played really well, and I struggle to see how Geelong work around him. Honestly, would I be right about that, Tasha?
Well, in round 23, which is the last time Melbourne and Geelong played each other, Geelong were all over Melbourne up until the last quarter. But I think they kind of took their foot off the clutch there. I don't think they'll make the same mistake. They easily shut down Melbourne. I think they were too far ahead, and then they let Melbourne get the momentum. If they shut down any momentum early, I think they'd be able to beat Melbourne.
And just as you mentioned before, Jackson, Geelong, the second oldest team in the league. I mean, with age also comes experience as well. And they've had they've produced some massive wins in semi-finals as well in the last couple of years. I mean, they belted the Swans in 2017, and they also beat the underdogs. They were also the underdogs, and they beat the Eagles in 2019. So
they've also lost 4 out of 5 prelims. So.
Yeah, and also their week 1 finals record is 8-1 since 2011. So.
Yeah, they're a very consistent team, Geelong, over the course of a decade. They've been in the finals every single year except 2015. But when they get to the finals, their play becomes a little sloppier. I mean, Matt's mentioned that in week 1 finals, they've only won 1 and lost another 8. That's an unacceptable record. That's not good enough. And I mean, at least no major injuries as far as I know for Geelong. They'll still have Tom Hawkins to play, and he was really good against GWS. And just over the course of the entire season, with 13 disposals per game, 8.6 kicks, and 2.4 goals. I mean, he'll be key. And a couple of those, like Isaac Smith, will be really important for them as well. But Tasha, are there any major injuries for Geelong I'm missing?
No. The only concern were Tom Hawkins and Selwood getting
Okay.
suspended, but both were cleared tonight.
Yeah, both have been cleared. Yeah, that's good to hear. That'll be good for Geelong because even, there's a couple injuries amongst these sides. I mean, Lions in particular suffered some pretty unfortunate injuries that probably helped Western Bulldogs just get over the edge against them. But so I'll just take a final verdict from both of you. Geelong, chance to get past the preliminary final or no? For me, I don't see it from Geelong. I think their finals record is just a bit too damning for me, and I think Melbourne are just too good.
Yeah, I'll go next. I reckon Geelong might upset Melbourne. I know they're not the favourites coming in. I know Melbourne, the favourites to win the premiership at $2.65 according to the sports bet odds, and Geelong's $5. But I reckon Geelong might upset Melbourne. You know, they've got some experience on them. Like Tasha said before, they play well against Melbourne in round 23, and they shut them down up until the last quarter. I reckon they'll use that game as a learning curve, and they'll push through and beat Melbourne. I reckon, and see Port Adelaide in the final.
Yeah. All right. And Tasha?
I'd love to see Melbourne get their fairy tale premiership, but I can see Geelong beating them on next week. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm sorry, Tasha, but we can't just talk about Geelong as a potential upset here. We've got to talk about the Bulldogs. I know the pain is still fresh in your mind of an incident half a decade ago, but we're going to have to talk about the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs, in 30 minutes ago, the Bulldogs they came to victory against the Brisbane Lions. Very tight game. But in it, the Western Bulldogs have really put themselves up there. This finals was the first time they've won in a finals game since the 2016 fairy tale, whether you like to call it that or not. And we have to consider what they can bring to the game. And if they could get past Port, what would a Western Bulldogs and Melbourne final look like? Tasha?
See, I don't think they're going to make it past Port. The Bont has injured his knee, probably won't be playing next week. Waitman's not playing, got concussed during this game. Without the two of them, I see a very slim chance that they beat Port. But if they do, I don't think they'd come up against Melbourne either. Their ruck is pretty weak, and up against Max Gawn, who is one of the best ruckmen in the competition, I don't see the centre clearances going the Bulldogs' way at all.
And you're not convinced by Tim English in that position. Is what any particular gripes you have?
No, I just don't think he's strong enough.
Yeah, that's in my opinion as well. I mean, he gets some good stats. He got 13.2 disposals, 7.4 kicks, 5.1 marks, 5.8 handballs, and 2.7 tackles per game this season. But yeah, like Tasha said, he's tall, but he just lacks the strength to play in the ruck.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's better people in that position. It's definitely a position that in the future the Bulldogs should look to improve. But I'd just like to go back to those two injuries Tasha's mentioned.
Yep.
Both Cody Waitman and Bontempelli.
Yep.
So those are our two injuries from the game, and there's no doubt they are absolute losses for the Bulldogs. I mean, we talk about Bontempelli. He's a star player. He's second in the league for inside 50s. He's among the top players for meters gained per game, and he ranks among all AFL midfielders quite highly for both tackles and pressure acts. Like, along with his 26 goals per game, 26 goals over the course of the season, he's indispensable for them. Exactly. He's indispensable for them. And Cody Waitman proved last game that the Bulldogs need him in the finals. He got four goals against Essendon. From free kicks. Okay, Tasha. All right. I'll give you, Tasha, you've got a chance now. Thoughts on the Bulldogs, Tasha?
I don't like the Bulldogs. They get too many free kicks from the umpires. Umpires love child.
Do you have these stats in front of you, though? Can you back up this opinion?
I do.
This wild accusation.
In 2021, the Bulldogs' free kick differential is 79. And Geelong, who is in second place, is only at 33. So there's an insane difference.
Could it be though? Could it be that the Bulldogs play in a way to force free kicks out of the opposition? I mean, no, but
unless they duck for frees like Waitman did, which though shouldn't give him free kicks because that's against the rules.
Oh God, we're disappointed to hear there's such a biased opinion from a Swans fan. It's not like you've got any personal beef in this one.
In 2016, it was found that the umpiring was not up to standard.
Here we go.
Here we go. Referencing something that happened 5 years ago. That's wild.
Always comes back to the 2016 final.
The Bulldogs aren't, completely out of stars though. They might have injuries to a couple of key players, but there's still some names there who could turn it around. Tom Liberator actually played really well in this game. And he got himself 3 goals this game. And he also got he got 3 goals this game. And there's no doubt that his contested possessions place him among the top in the league. I think he got 301 over the course of the whole season.
10th with 301, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you also look at Jack McRae, who's on the Bulldogs as well. He's 9th in contested possessions with 304 as well.
And I'd like to mention one other player being Aaron Norton, another key star. He's got 137 marks for the Bulldogs. And he also scored 3 goals against Essendon in the finals. These players will have to step up their game if Western Bulldogs are a happy chance. Yeah. Tasha, anyone in the Bulldogs other than those players who you think really has to step up in order for the Bulldogs to have any chance of making it through the next round?
I think Bailey Smith needs to step up.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good player, but he's sometimes a bit hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped up towards the end of tonight's game, which was good, but then scored the winning point.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Dogs lose, it's going to be in their midfield. So that's pretty much what they have to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And who replaces Bontempelli as being the leader for this squad? When they need a leader in the game, who replaces his leadership skills? Sort of leads the team in that game. Who has to step up as the leader?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. He's irreplaceable in that way. In that way.
Just going back to Bailey Smith's performance tonight, 3 goals, 27 disposals. So played a pretty good game.
Yeah, he did. He played the game he needed to play. There's no doubt about it. But and let's take a verdict on what we think about this Western Bulldogs side. They will have to play. I think they will have to play Port. No, they will play Melbourne. They're going to play Melbourne.
No, they play Port Adelaide.
Port.
They're going to play Port.
Melbourne plays Geelong.
Yeah, so Melbourne will play Geelong. Bulldogs will play Port.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we won't talk about Port this episode, but chances are they will be in the final with Melbourne, and we'll discuss that contest later on towards the final.
Mm-hmm.
But Tasha, do you really see the Bulldogs getting past Port?
No, not really.
It's just not a match that works well for the Bulldogs, is it? I believe you had some points about this.
Yeah, so firstly, with their injuries out, I reckon they're gone anyway. Port's defence is insane. Unless you can get into your forward 50 really fast, running it in and keeping it low, Aliir is going to take every intercept mark in the forward 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, anything else that, we've talked about the ruckman as well, being a weakness for the Western Bulldogs. Is there any other weakness you think that really makes them vulnerable to a team like Port? Or even Melbourne?
Midfield, definitely. Ruck, midfield, and their forward line needs to pump it up, because both Melbourne and Port are both very good defence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just on the betting odds for Sportsbet as well, they've got Western Bulldogs at $6, so they're the lowest ranked out of all 4 teams left.
And what's the odds for? Oh, is that just for winning?
Yeah, that's for winning the
final.
premiership. So winning the premiership, Melbourne's at $2.65, Port's at $3, Geelong's at $5, and Western Bulldogs is at $6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think we need to just have a quick chat about one of the teams that won't be making it to the prelims. I mean, Tasha had her hopes high on the Brisbane Lions overcoming the Bulldogs and avenging a 5-year-old grudge. But do we think, Tasha, that the Lions offered something different that could really get them through one of these preliminary finals, whereas Geelong or Western Bulldogs might not?
I reckon the Lions would have also lost to Port, honestly, but they were looking like they would win. Like I think they did win that game besides converting it into goals. But their style of play would have gone well against Port. They were getting it into their forward 50 really easily. But I still think they would have lost. Okay.
All right. I don't know how I feel about that, because I think Brisbane's attack, if they had to come at the game a little differently, they learned their lesson from the loss against Melbourne. I believed in that attack. Sure, we talk about injuries to McStay and Eric Hipwood. That's rough. Daniel McStay especially, his 3.1 tackles per game will be missed. But when you've got Charlie Cameron in your side who consistently persists with 3+ goals a game, not to mention the kind of ground ball gets that is in that team. So what we know is that 4 Brisbane Lions players rank in the top 25 for ground ball gets. We're talking about Charlie Cameron, Lincoln McCarthy, Calamachi, Zach Bailey. They've been incredible. And you can't just look past. I mean, you've got to rate a team that is the best attack in the league. I think it has to be rated quite highly. I think it was 14 goals per game compared to maybe about 12.3 for Melbourne. Yep. I mean, the difference is startling, and they were significantly ahead of any other team in the league. You don't think that attack might have offered them, if they had to rework the defence, do you think that attack could have offered them something in one of these prelim finals if they had gotten that far?
I still think Port's defence is too good. And the Lions have been also kind of slow to start most of their games.
Okay.
I think any of these teams need to start out the gate and get in, kick some goals, get momentum, and then win.
All right. So I'll get the verdict from everyone. If Lions had made it through, no chance. I think they would have had a chance. But Tasha, Matt?
No.
I think they played a good game. They played their heart out, but I think at the end of the day, I think Port would have it. But teams go there to play the finals. They don't go there to get up against one of the favourites of the competition and lose. So they're going to put it all out there on the field, no matter injuries or any other club-related issues. So I reckon they'll give it their all. But yeah, I reckon Port come out on top.
Absolutely. All right then. Well, that covers our discussions for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please do subscribe when possible. Click that like button and show us your appreciation, and you'll see more AFL content in the future as we approach the grand final. Thank you for joining me, Matt. Thank you for joining me, Tasha. I'll be happy, I'll see Matt in our regular episodes, but we'll be happy to have you on again, Tasha, to bring your insights and your expertise.
Sounds good.
And we'll also link our social medias in the description as well. We've got Instagram and Twitter, so we mainly post about EPL soccer, but we'll also be getting into AFL and many other sports, as you will see in the OT playlist and our YouTube channel. So Thanks everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll give it back to Jackson to close it out for us.
And see ya.